Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today, where we're adding another video this week. Now, we read through the comment section quite a bit, try to stay super interactive, and we've seen a lot of people lately ask for some buy low, sell high type videos. So here we go. That's what we're talking about here today. Now, before we get into the names, I kind of want to discuss buy low, sell high. Now, in my opinion, if you're already selling high on a player 2 weeks into the season, you're making a mistake. Videos out there saying to sell high after 2 weeks are nothing but clickbait to try to get views on YouTube, because how often are you going to give up on a player after 2 weeks with a very little sample size that ends up being a stud all year long? We see it every single year. Don't sell high 2 weeks into a season. Take that high, use it for as long as you can. Get a larger sample size. When you start to see the consistency or inconsistencies, that's when you can start to make those decisions whether you want to sell or hold on to. So I am not a big advocate of selling high just 2 weeks into a season. That makes no sense to me. As far as buying low, heck yeah. We've seen it, just a week or two into this season. A lot of people want to just throw in the towel. They want to give up. They get frustrated. They're impatient, and they want to just sell studs because they don't want to deal with it. Okay, fine. I'll take those studs from you at a discounted price, and I will reap the rewards later on in the season. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Got some running backs and some wide receivers, but hit the like button because there's some timestamps down below. Now, before we get into the names, though, I want to make sure that I offer you a chance at our September giveaway. Now, in case you haven't heard yet, we're giving away an autographed Justin Jefferson jersey, a Manscaped Perfect Package 4.0, and a Trevor Lawrence rookie card, a package valued at over $250. How do you enter? It's easy. You sign up for a new account on Prize Picks. There's a link down below in the description, or you can download the app. Use the referral code HEADLINERS when you set up that new account and make the minimum deposit of $20. They will match your deposit all the way up to $100, and then we'll talk Prize Picks all year long, and all of us will try to walk away with this season with a little bit extra cash in our pocket. That's what it's all about, having a great time working with them here this season, so get in on that now. But who are a few running backs? Let's start with some running backs that I'm really actively going after right now for the discounted price that I can get them at. And the first one, it's not a surprise. We need to talk about Saquon Barkley. Now is the time to take advantage of impatient Saquon Barkley owners. Like, literally, now is the time. If we wait any longer, it could be too late. As of right now, they see a player on their roster that was drafted in the back half of the first round that's currently running back 45 overall and half PPR scoring. Heck, through 2 games, this guy doesn't even have over 100 total yards at this point. But we knew this was going to happen. This isn't a setback in an injury. This isn't Saquon Barkley's fully good. He's 100%, and now he's just not getting the work. They told us they were going to do this. Now that they're doing it, people are panicking and acting like they had no idea it was coming. More than likely, maybe they're 0-2 at this point. They do not want to go 0-3. They thought they'd be able to skate by the first couple weeks. It didn't work. Now they need to make a move to make their overall team better. But that time of the turnaround is coming, and it's coming super quick. Why? Use the eye test. Look at the explosiveness that we saw out of Saquon Barkley just last week. That 41-yard run where he was able to get to the outside and turn it up the field. That is great to see, that explosiveness out of a running back coming off of a torn ACL. But what I love even more than what I saw in the eye test was the snap percentage. In week 1, Saquon Barkley only played in 48% of the offensive snaps. By week 2, he played in 84% of the offensive snaps. This is definitely trending in the way of getting Saquon Barkley on the field more and more as the season progresses. And let's not forget, he didn't just go up against the Jags and the Texans here and totally struggle. 2 difficult matchups against Denver and Washington in Washington. But what's great about it is, for the first time in his career, he's not facing stacked boxes. Daniel Jones has been able to move the ball on the ground with his own legs and through the air at times with the likes of Sterling Shepard. Now, if they can get Kenny Golladay more involved, Darius Slayton to grab a football now and again, it's only going to decrease the amount of defenders inside the box. As of right now, Saquon Barkley is facing base fronts on 60% of his touches. That's the highest number he's ever seen in his career. He's used to having 8 defenders in the box. Now he's not going to. And with that explosiveness, that vision, that athleticism, he can definitely put up some big numbers and be explosive once again. Plus, he has some great matchups coming up against the likes of Atlanta, New Orleans, Dallas, Kansas City, Tennessee, maybe even Las Vegas could be some great opportunities for Saquon Barkley to start putting up big numbers. But the biggest question here with Saquon Barkley is, what do I trade in order to get him? And honestly, I wish I could give you a name, but that name wouldn't really help because your team may not have that guy to trade. So this is what I would do. I would go to the Saquon Barkley owner and say, listen, man, what is it going to take to get Barkley? I know you can't sit back and wait any longer. You need to make a move. What can we do for us to make a trade here? You may be able to get away with a mid running back 2 and a mid wide receiver 2, package a 2-for-1 deal, and get Saquon Barkley back in return. What's that going to do? Probably not going to decimate your starting lineup as far as running back depth goes, and now you get this huge potential ceiling play on a weekly basis. Saquon Barkley is definitely a name that's going to start rising and rising as the weeks go on. I would rather be a little bit proactive, go after him here in week 2, and hopefully catch the owner in a bad spot, being that Saquon Barkley didn't even break that 10 points a game just this past week. But we got to do it quick because the second he has a good game, all bets are off, and there's no way you're probably getting him away from the owner. Now, the next guy, you may not be a big fan of, and you may be, why do I want to go after this guy? But just hear me out. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know it's not great, right? He's had a rough start, especially after that fumble just to end the game this past week. He's currently running back 44 and trending down. Jake, why do I want to go after Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Well, more than likely, whichever team he's on, he's not their number 1 option. Heck, he may be even their running back 3 at this point, depending on where they drafted him. This is why he was a 3rd-round pick earlier in the offseason, right? It's because of this risk. Nobody was going out there and expecting running back 1 numbers. We're trying to get him inside the top 24, and you can argue that there's nowhere else to go but up at this point. Plus, look at the matchups in which he's already played in. He's gone back-to-back against Cleveland and Baltimore. Not easy matchups whatsoever. Plus, Andy Reid isn't exactly Bruce Arians out there with punishment to running backs. This is not a Ronald Jones scenario where CEH is going to be benched forever. No, he's going to get an opportunity to redeem himself. In fact, honestly, I can see increased volume here over the next few weeks to try to boost his confidence. They still need Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Remember, they invested a 1st-round pick in this guy, and even though he may not be a weekly smash start, he's somebody who still has a super high ceiling. But most importantly, it's because his price is super cheap. You'll never find him any cheaper than he is right now. More than likely, whoever owns him is contemplating benching him right now anyway. You can go in there and steal him right this second, stash him on your own bench, and if he can turn it around, you have yourself great depth and a great ceiling play on a weekly basis that you paid absolutely hardly anything for. He's still, as of right now, top 10 among all running backs in yards per reception and yards created. The guy can make things happen. He just needs the opportunities. And like I said, his value can't get any lower than it currently is. There's very little risk here. He's almost free at this point. I find somebody on my roster that's had a decent couple of weeks that I'm not overly reliant on. I go to the CEH owner. I find out what he needs and try to, work a deal that makes it seem like you're taking the risk further on when really there is no risk because you're not paying a whole lot to get him a potential lottery ticket if they can really figure it out here second half of the season. And there's a few other guys that I kind of have as notable mentions here. First one, Jonathan Taylor. A lot of people struggling with Jonathan Taylor, but look at what he's doing. He's leading the league among all running backs in touches inside the 5-yard line with 6 of them. He's getting the opportunities. He just hasn't been able to score the touchdowns yet. They're going to happen, especially if there's an injury to Carson Wentz. They're going to have to rely a little bit more on the running game, aka Jonathan Taylor, moving forward if they want to have any chance at winning any ball games in this division moving forward. I'm not selling Jonathan Taylor personally, but I'm sure there's other players out there that are worried about Jonathan Taylor because they took him in the first, 5-8 picks or so, and he has underproduced so far. He's definitely another guy I'm going after. Same thing with Antonio Gibson. Now people are worried. I'm even getting comments asking if J.D. McKissic is the bell cow in Washington. No, the guy didn't even have 10 touches this past week and was still out-touched by Antonio Gibson. Things happen. He was just in the right place at the right time. Antonio Gibson still the better option in this backfield, and the schedule gets easier and easier and easier for the Washington football team as the season progresses. I'm actively trying to go after Gibson as much as I can if their owners are frustrated with him as well. Same thing with Myles Gaskin. Now, Myles Gaskin hasn't done a whole lot as of yet, and now with the injury to Tua, could kind of have a Jonathan Taylor-esque scenario where they're going to have to rely a little bit more on the running backs in this game to really help Jacoby Brissett if he's a starter for any amount of time. Plus, the pass-catching upside is with Myles Gaskin. Right around 5-6 targets a week can give you a safer floor. 5 or 6 targets for 4 or 5 receptions, 30-40 yards a week? That gives you a solid, 4, 5, 6 points a week before even touching what he does actually on the ground. He's somebody that I'm not overly active at going after to throw him right in my lineup, but he's definitely somebody you should have on your radar where if the owner's a little bit irritated, losing some patience, another name to pay attention to. Last guy really isn't a buy low, in my opinion, but he is somebody that I'm trying to buy, and it's Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos. Now, we said all offseason that this kid was going to be somebody that got more and more work and really started to take this job as the season progressed. Well, it's happening faster than even we thought it would. Melvin Gordon, his stats may look better, but it's really one big play that inflates them. Javonte Williams has been the more efficient back on the ground. He looks good. He's already being praised by his coaching staff, and he could retake this job sooner than mid-season. So he's definitely somebody that I'm trying to get as a throw-in to a trade because he hasn't exactly gone up there and put up big numbers yet. So people may be impatient. They don't want to wait for him. That you may not have to wait much longer. They may not know that, but Javonte Williams is definitely a name to pay attention to. What about a few wide receivers? Chase Claypool tops my list here. He's currently wide receiver 54. Early season hype is already starting to wear off, right? A lot of people love Claypool here in the offseason, said that he was going to have a huge season and really hasn't done much of anything. More than likely, almost 100%, he's on a bench somewhere for whoever owns him in your league. Now that Deontay Johnson is banged up, how much time does he miss? He's somebody who's struggled staying healthy in the past. What happens when Deontay Johnson goes out? The potential increases for Chase Claypool. We love the potential of big plays with Chase Claypool. He just doesn't see enough volume. Well, if Deontay Johnson misses time, you better believe that volume is coming. But Chase Claypool is already getting targets. It's not like he's just forgotten about. He's gotten 14 targets combined in the first 2 games of the season. Now, he's still on a pass-first team who struggles to run the ball. The big plays, they're coming. The touchdowns, they're coming. And he's playing. He's out there on the field. Even with Deontay Johnson in the lineup, Chase Claypool is playing 77% of the snaps on offense just this past week. He's definitely somebody who I'm trying to go out there and get in a trade because you don't have to pay a whole lot because he hasn't done anything huge yet. Keyword, yet. Next name, Allen Robinson, Chicago Bears. Currently wide receiver 56 overall. Slow start, right? But he saw 11 targets in week 1. However, only had 4 targets in week 2. But now, all of a sudden, people are like, oh, this guy doesn't have a role in this offense. Oh, they're just not using Allen Robinson anymore. I don't know what to do with him. They don't want him in there in Chicago anymore. I mean, come on. There's been a quarterback carousel the first 2 weeks of the game between Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. It's no wonder that these guys can't get on the same page. The offense is constantly changing because last time I checked, Justin Fields' skill set is way different than that of Andy Dalton's. But now, with an Andy Dalton injury, how much time does he miss? Does that give this offense the opportunity to give the keys to the car to Justin Fields and start to build some chemistry? This offense just hasn't been able to stabilize in the first 2 weeks, but the best option in their passing game is still Allen Robinson. It's going to stabilize as these weeks go on, especially if Dalton misses a significant amount of time. Plus, great schedule coming up after week 3, including a game against Detroit in which I would bet that he probably goes off in. The receptions, the touchdowns, they're all coming. Plus, yes, he's still on the field all the time. Played 85% of the snaps on average. With this quarterback stability incoming, the play will increase for Allen Robinson. Currently, wide receiver 56 is a name that people are panicking on that I'm trying to buy like crazy after week 2 here in fantasy football. Notable wide receivers, I was going to mention Devontae Parker. Now, I had gone through and looked at Devontae Parker before we knew that Will Fuller was actually going to come back, but that's still a weird situation to me. It went from Will Fuller being out for a week with a personal issue to we don't even know if Will Fuller's coming back, to all of a sudden Will Fuller's back and practicing. Kind of a weird situation, and what happens here as the season progresses. Devontae Parker's still, currently wide receiver 53 overall. He's kind of an afterthought with all these added weapons in Miami. But now with all these issues going around with Will Fuller, what do we really get from him here throughout the season? Now, like I said, with Will Fuller back in the mix, it kind of drops Devontae Parker down my radar list, I guess you could say. But he's somebody who I'm not opposed to adding to my team and kind of just stashing on the bench. He has 16 targets in the last 2 games. We know the run game is struggling. Miami may be trailing more if Tua misses more time, so they're having to throw more. Just something to pay attention to here as we move forward. Also, why are people worried about DK Metcalf? Don't be worried about DK Metcalf. Sure, the deep balls here as of late are going the way of Tyler Lockett, but we know DK is capable of just the same things. We saw this last year. It's kind of like a role reversal. Don't you remember how hot DK Metcalf started last year with these deep balls, and now all of a sudden it's going the way of Tyler Lockett? Is that by design? Probably somewhat. Of course, it has something to do with Tyler Lockett absolutely burning his defenders, but DK Metcalf is not forgotten about, and the deep ball of Russell Wilson is one of the most accurate in all of football. I'm not worried about DK Metcalf, and if somebody wants to give up on him, I will gladly take him. What about Robert Woods? Now, of course, Cooper Kupp is out there absolutely lining it up right now, but don't forget, Robert Woods is somebody who in this offense has put up like 90 catches for 3 straight years. They're not going to all of a sudden just abandon him. He's going to have some big games coming up. Why? Defenses are going to start putting double coverage or paying more attention to Cooper Kupp. What is that going to do? Leave more one-on-one coverage with Robert Woods. Plus, right now, Darrell Henderson banged up. What does that do to the run game? Is Sony Michel the most efficient running back on planet Earth? No, he's not. And in an offense that we know is going to throw the ball a lot and throw it successfully, Robert Woods is somebody who I can still see getting more and more volume as the season progresses. He's a great option for Matthew Stafford. He's got that high ceiling. He's got that big play potential. I'm not giving up on Robert Woods, and if somebody else is, I'll take him as well. Last is going to be Calvin Ridley. This guy had super high expectations. There are some people that had him ranked preseason as the #1 overall wide receiver. I think those days have come and gone, right? Especially since we've seen the offense in Atlanta and how bad it really is. But what do we do going forward? Well, we know Calvin Ridley is going to be the focal point of this offense. It may not just be at the level we were expecting. Is he going to reach top 5, top 10 potential? Maybe not. Is he going to finish as a wide receiver 2 inside the top 24? Abso-freaking-lutely, he's going to. And if you can find an owner out there that's panicking because they haven't seen big numbers early on, they see the struggles of Matt Ryan, they see the struggles as an overall offense, may try to ditch Ridley now so they don't have to deal with headaches down the road. Perfect. You can scoop in, grab him on your team, probably be your #2 wide receiver if you can find the right trade with the other team, and reap the rewards later on in the season. Calvin Ridley is still somebody who's going to produce great numbers, but the expectations that people had preseason were just too high, and it's almost impossible for him to live up to them at this point. These are just a few guys, though, that I'm really trying to go after here after week 2. Owners are panicking, and I will take advantage of those panicked owners every possible chance that I can. Now, do not sell the farm to go get these players, right? You want to keep your base nucleus, your base team together. You want to add to the base of players that you already have. If you're just sacrificing, points at running back to get somebody at wide receiver, they're canceling each other out. You're not helping yourself at all. You have to try to find a way to help your overall team so you can score more potential points on a weekly basis, because that's how you win fantasy football matchups and fantasy football championships. Now, if you want to go out there, kind of play around with some trades, throw them down below in the comment section. We can do our best to try to answer as many as we can. Plus, a lot of members of this community, very active in the comment section, trying to help people out. So that is always an option as well. But we want to make sure we got out a few names that you guys go get right now. Try to get them early, because as soon as they have a big game, you might as well cross them off the list. The owner won't give them up for anything short of like 3 bundles of gold, because they drafted these guys early. They had high expectations. Once the points start coming, it's going to be hard to get. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week, and we'll talk to you later.